A shaver, a shaving machine, a good shaving machine is above 3,000. Now, you're not helping this guy. I would rather they would have scaled down to the number of people. Probably, if they are giving, if they have a target of 2 million, they better even give 500,000. And they give them a substantial amount to do something. But telling us that, this other platform are giving 500 and you are also going to give 500. My friend, you are telling us nothing. I think, contrary, I'm sorry to say this, contrary to what we usually say, that wajinga waliisha Kenya. To me, I think wajinga waliongezeka. Because if somebody can celebrate over that, okay, there are a few people complaining. But I'm very sure some of us, probably some of the sycophants, I will call sycophants, will be celebrating about, oh, now we have the fund. You are forgetting that these guys you are giving 500, they have been working the kazi mitaani, and they have been getting that 500 every day. So this guy who has been earning the 500 every day, you are giving that person 500 once to start a business that he does not even have. Really? I think Kenyans, we need to wake up. Now I'll come to what I think was it. I think Wangera was there's a time you are trying to be sort of apologetic to some of the statements you made. I will say this: saying that Raila going to the street is not fighting Ruto. Now look here. When Ruto is wrong, he is wrong, and he deserves a fight. He deserves a fight. He's supposed to be fought. Period. When he is wrong, he is wrong. And whatever that he does that is wrong should be fought. And that is it. Somebody comes to tell us, I want to dispute this statement. A good number of people are saying, okay, somebody rises up and say, oh, wale wanataka wanataka kuwapeleka kwa street, watoto wao hawako wako nyumbani, watoto wao. Now look, hao wenye wanapeleka wanaenda kwa street, watoto wao wako nyumbani, fine. Na ule mwenye anaenda kwa street mwenyewe huwa anaenda na watoto. We don't go with our kids. And the person you are talking about is above 18. That person can make a decision by him or herself to go to the street or not. The second thing, people who are going to the street, it is because of disgruntlement. People are disgruntled. People are watu wamefinywa. Watu wanaenda kwa street because wamefinywa. And they are not going to the street because they are okay. Because they're just trying to fight a government. But ni kufinywa wamefinywa. Now you're expecting somebody mwenye hajafinywa aende kwa street on your behalf. And if anything, Raila has nothing to lose. Even if he doesn't go to the street, he has nothing to lose. Nani anakuambia Raila? Nani anawaambia Raila ana nini? Anasumbuliwa na unga. Okay, if he decides to buy unga, how many packets of unga can he buy in a day? He can buy lorries in a day and still not. That one haimpunguzi. People are ready to go to the street because they are suffering. And the likes of Duke and I know Penny Nyangaka, you are somewhere hearing. when Wangira was rebutting what Duke had said, it is not just addressing Duke, it is addressing people like you who have the same mentality, who think that fighting the injustice that is being done on the Cherera 4, those who think that fighting that injustice it is of no use. Nataka kuwauliza, this is an open question. Imagine you are being crucified. Ukiwa kazini, you are being crucified for having a right stand. How do you feel? How do you feel being crucified for standing on the right thing? To me, I 100% support what Raila is talking about, going to the street because of the Cherera 4. It is because we have to stop what is wrong today. Because if you allow it today, tomorrow it will go ahead. And you know what? Okay, we have seen that there's a petition in court. Somebody will tell you that it may not be of consequence. But I believe if there are demonstrations, it will be a statement to the court that they should do justice, or if they don't do justice, probably they may expect worse. Na nataka kuambia hivi, this is a fact. Suluhu haiji ila kwa ncha ya upanga. Sometimes if you cannot speak, if you can speak and you are not heard, apparently this is the only language Kenyans hear, Kenyan leadership here. If you can speak and you are not heard, make a greater noise about it. Wakati ingine, okay, let me say I've dealt with the management. Okay, nimekuwa when I was in Kenya, I was working with I was working with Kenya Railways and was a representative, workers representatives. There is a time I came to realize if you talk softly, if you become too soft, then management will have an easier time of hitting you because they feel that hata huyu tukimgonga, there's nothing. But if you are loud enough, it also scares them. They will have a harder time to handle you because you are in the limelight. For Ruto to hear the voice of Kenyans and to know that what he's doing is damn wrong, let people go to the street and make their voice heard. You know, some people, okay, Duke has talked of accomplishing some political, for political gains. Let me say this. This is politics. Some things get to a point whereby politics has to be done as politics. For example, let me give you an example of the swearing in. The swearing in, like the swearing in of Raila, like Kalonzo, whatever, they were saying, oh, it is against the law. Look here, things come from, sometimes, they come from against the law, and they are pushed into they are made to be law. 207, the peace accord was not in the constitution. It had to work out from outside the constitution before it can be brought into the constitution. Sometimes desperate times cause for desperate measures. People have to make their voice heard. Okay, I see that there's a, okay, Okay, I've just forgotten what something that just I've forgotten. I think I'll come back and talk about it later.
Okay, thank you Domi. We are still here. Kwa hivyo usijali, utapata nafasi ingine.
I look at this thing as nothing more than a state-run Fuliza. Nothing, not much different. It's much ado about nothing, really. The government, of course, the cabinet in its memo said it's revolutionary. It's going to do away with all the predatory lending practices and so forth. And there's a lot of lofty statements about it, but it amounts to nothing really, as far as I'm concerned. I look at it differently. The reason is because the amount of money that is being given. Don't look at the size of the 50 billion. That's nothing compared to Fuliza alone gave out 585 billion in 2021. So for the government, 50 billion, even if you give each person the maximum of 50,000, how many people will get it? It's only 1 million people will get it. If you look at how many Kenyans are jobless, and we're told this is supposed to help people, who are jobless, people who are down there looking for small and micro enterprises, and so forth. The registered micro and small and medium enterprises alone with that authority are over 7.5 million. Those who are registered with those guys alone. And you create all that expectation that the government is going to give people money to create jobs so that everyone can fend for himself. And then you talk of 50 billion. I think in my view, and then you set up something that will really exclude the entire micro. If we look at the definition of the micro and small and medium enterprises, they're excluded by this fund. Because you're looking at those businesses where the minimum is 500,000, people who do at least turnover 500,000, who employ at least 10 people, and going up to 100 million. If you are doing a 1 million shilling business or 2 million shillings business, and you're told you'll be given, a hustler fund of 10,000 shillings, because majority of people will not get the maximum. I'm sure most people will get 10, 20,000 shillings. 10, 20,000 shillings is not going to be something that you would really feel it's going to change or to expand your business.
Okay, let's go to Duke and then we can jump to Wangira. Duke. Duke amedrop kwanza, wacha ende atafute points. Wangira, usukani ni kwako.
Okay, thank you. Let me just talk about the Hustler Fund. And I want to speak from a practical point of view, Makiade. And when I say from a practical point of view, just on my wall, I still see my photograph when I founded a cooperative society in 2015 called Ugatuzi Upendo Sacco, where I have been the chairman of that cooperative society, and where we have been trying to, assist people save and later on borrow small monies to help them go about their business. And I've come to realize for the time, or now the period of almost 6 years that I have been in this business of running a cooperative society, I've come to realize that it's not just about giving people loans. If you give people loans and either depending on the amount of loans you're giving or the environment in which they're operating in, or even where they don't have proper planning, at the end of the day, they'll end up defaulting. And whenever I look at our balance sheet for my cooperative society, we have quite a huge amount of money, over the last 2 years, where we have been struggling to tell people, to make people who borrowed repay, and it has become almost impossible for them to repay. And I was looking at the Hustlers Fund from the perspective of my cooperative society, and I saw same challenges, facing the Hustlers Fund, especially when it comes to the repayment, because you are told that you can go on a portal, or you can use your USDD, the code, and you can apply for, you register, then you apply and you get money. But what type of environment are we operating in? What type of environment are we operating in? And I agree with Biro Kero that if you are to give it's 50 billion, if you are to give 550,000 shillings per person, that will be only 1 million people will get it. And you also raised a very crucial point that in the environment we are operating in Kenya today, where I personally live, because I'm back here at home in Kenya. Today in Kenya, if you are to give an individual, forget about even 500 shillings, 10,000 shillings today, what will a person do with 10,000 shillings to a point of sustaining himself or uplifting himself with 10,000 shillings in form of a loan? If you give somebody 10,000 shillings in form of a loan, you are not helping him. You are instead putting him into more trouble, because you'll get that amount of money, you'll try to carry out business, the business will not pick up, and at the end of the day you'll end up having a loan to pay, and you have a loan to pay, but you don't have something to make you pay the loan, because your business has collapsed, because of the environment in which you're operating in. And that is the problem that even the apps have been having, the loaning apps have been having, the Wakinatala and what have you, because they loan you 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, expecting you to repay. Their period was also for 14 days. In 2 weeks, you have to repay. And you are being told to repay in 14 days. And even if I give you 5,000 shillings and I'm telling you that you do something with it, and in 14 days you have to repay it back. But even where you are living today, if I gave you that amount of money and I gave you 2 weeks to do with it something, then you repay back in 2 weeks. I don't know whether you will be in a position to make a repayment in 2 weeks. So we are living a lie, here. We are living a lie, They need to restructure the Hustlers Fund in a better way than, in the manner that it is operating on today. Because if they continue in the manner that people take 500 shillings and they have to pay 500 shillings after two weeks, it's going to become problems. Let me tell you, 8% of 5,000 shillings in 2 weeks, that's 40 shillings. So they are telling you that if you borrow 40 shillings, you have to bring back, if you borrow 500 shillings, you have to bring it back when it's 540. And there are what we call Safaricom charges, M-Pesa charges. For example, if I borrow 500 shillings and I want to withdraw, when I withdraw, I'll not withdraw 500 shillings. I'll end up withdrawing 472 shillings. So you see, the M-Pesa charges are already eating 28 shillings. And when I'm making the payment to repay back the 540, I need to spend another almost 12 shillings to repay. So that will be 40 shillings plus 28 plus 12 on top of the 500 shillings. So you discover that the cost of money there is not as cheap as it's not as affordable as the government wants to make people think that it's affordable. So we need to come up with better structure of loaning people. Unless we are getting into the waste type of plastic money, where understanding the waste, there's plastic money for anything you want to get, there's plastic money available for you. And the West has ways, means of recovering. In Kenya here, most people operate informally. So recovering that money will become a real problem. And to me, this is my take. Makiada, I don't know where you are currently situated, but you'll discover that in the West, what majority, what those countries encourage, is creation of employment, by larger corporations, so that you have a big corporation that can employ more people than perhaps having everybody creating his own, his own employment. because this thing of believing that everybody can create his own employment of selling eggs or selling mandazi and it will become sustainable, we are cheating us. The best way is to create an environment where we can have large corporations, coming up, where they can end up employing more people than this thing of cheating Kenyans that, you can take 500 shillings and, with 500 shillings, you can start selling eggs. And after 14 days, you'll be in a position to repay the 500 shillings. That one, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is like perhaps trying to cure cancer with Panadol. It is not possible. Oh, my brother Makiade, because the unemployment problem here we have, the unemployment problem that we have in Kenya is deeper, that it cannot be solved by the 500 shillings loan from the Hustler Fund. So, they need to rethink it better than the way they are rethinking. I think, everybody here seems to have run short of ideas. They don't know what to do. But, if they continue the way they're continuing, I have an experience. I chair a cooperative society. If they continue in the manner they are continuing, Makiade, we can revisit this thing in another 6 months or 1 year, and you look at the rate of the defaulting. The rate of the defaulting will not be less than 40-50%. That one I can tell you. If they continue just dishing money, the 500 shillings, in the manner they are dishing it out today, the rate of defaulting will be not less than 50%. And we have case studies, we have the youth fund where young people borrowed money to try and start businesses. Most of those businesses flopped and most of them ended up not repaying. We have an example of the weather fund where there were similar cases, involving women who borrowed money in form of starting businesses, and because of the challenges and the environment in which they were operating in, it was difficult for them to make any profits, and that's why they defaulted. So in the manner that the Hustler Fund is operating in, we can revisit it in another 6 months or 1 year, and we look at the rate of defaulting. And to my projection, it will not be less than it will not be under 40-50% in terms of defaulting. That's all that perhaps I'll have to say. Thank you.
All right. I think you've brought it very clear, but I just can't understand the hypocrisy here. Hold on. Let me see if this one will play.
Will Lusigekete News, Nairobi.
Na uzinduzi wa hazina ya mahasla katika kituo cha Green Park jijini Nairobi mapema leo bila shaka umewaacha baadhi ya mahasla waliotangamana na viongozi wa taifa pamoja na mameneja wakuu wa baadhi ya kampuni nchini na tabasamu ambazo huenda zisifutike hivi karibuni. Kutoka kwa muuzaji mmoja wa soseji na mayai ya kuchemsha aliyeuza soseji moja tu kwa shilingi 1,100 hadi kwa muuzaji mmoja wa nguo aliyemuuzia naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua shati moja tu kwa shilingi 50,000. Uzinduzi huo ulikuwa kama vile karamu ya ndovu kumla hata mwanawe kwa mahasla hao. Mwanahabari wetu David Mudhoka anaangazia visa na visanga vya uzinduzi huo, akiwemo hasla mkuu Rais William Ruto mwenyewe kushindwa kujisajili kupata mkopo kutoka kwa hazina hiyo ya mahasla.
Ilikuwa ni siku iliyosubiriwa kwa hamu na hamumu miongoni mwa maelfu ya wananchi na wafanyabiashara wadogo almaarufu mahasla waliojaza hadi pomoni kituo cha Green Park hata kabla uzinduzi wa hazina ya hasla na Rais William Ruto kuanza. Dakika chache baada ya saa 5 asubuhi, hasla mkuu Rais Ruto aliwasili na kuashiria mwanzo wa uzinduzi huo, akiwa amevalia shati la kawaida la kijivu na chepeo cheusi, tofauti na wakati mwingi anapovalia suti. Mwonekano wa Rais Ruto ulikuwa ishara kamili kuwa ilikuwa siku ya mahasla. Kabla ya kuingia ukumbini, Ruto alikagua vibanda tofauti vilivyokuwa nje, akianzia palipokuwa na mwanabodaboda huyu, kisha kuelekea alipokuwa muuzaji huyu wa mahindi choma kupata sega la mahindi, akapita palipokuwa na muuzaji huyu wa viazi kabla ya kutangamana na muuzaji mmoja wa bidhaa za shanga.
Kwa majina naitwa Shiko Arwaka.
Ndani mahasla wenzao vile walipata fursa adimu ya kutangamana sio tu na Rais Ruto, bali mara hii pia na viongozi mbalimbali wa kitaifa na wakuu wa baadhi ya kampuni nchini. Kwa wengi ilikuwa siku ambayo huenda hawatasahau maishani. Kwa mfano, mama huyu na mwanawe wanaouza soseji na mayai ya kuchemsha waliangukia bahati ya mtende walipouza soseji moja kwa shilingi 1,100 kwa afisa mkuu mtendaji wa Safaricom Peter Ndegwa.
Atalete 5,000 ndio nilipe deni ya fuliza.
Kwa muuzaji huyu wa shati na mwanawe, nyota ya wawili hao iling'aa walipouza shati moja shilingi 50,000 kwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua na lingine 5,000 kwa gavana wa Nairobi Johnson Sakaja. Mwendeshaji huyu wa bodaboda pia aliona siku njema asubuhi baada ya kwenda nyumbani na shilingi 100,000 taslim kutoka kwa waziri wa uchukuzi Kipchumba Murkomen kwa kubebana tu kutoka upande mmoja wa jukwaa hadi mwingine. Hata hivyo, ilibainika kuwa wengi wa mahasla waliokuwa jukwani walikuwa kutoka sehemu moja ya jiji la Nairobi, Umoja, hili likizua minong'ono kutoka kwa mahasla wenzao.
Najua wengi wameonyeshwa leo ni wa area moja, area zote za Nairobi. Kila ward tuko na ward 85 na tuko na constituency 17. Wote hapo kuna mahasla.
Haya yakijiri, mambo haya kuwa sawa kwa kila mtu, mmoja wao akiwa Rais Ruto aliyeshindwa kujisajili kwa mkopo huo wa hasla baada ya kuuzindua licha ya majaribio kadhaa. Kwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua na waziri mwandamizi Musalia Mudavadi, mambo yalikuwa tofauti. Hata hivyo, kwenye hotuba yake, naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua alitetea viwango vya mkopo huo ambavyo ni kutoka shilingi 500 hadi shilingi 50,000 dhidi ya madai kuwa ni vya chini.
Kwa sababu utaona jioni hii wajuaji wote watakuwa kwa ma-TV wakidebate mambo ya hii fund, wakisema hii, wakisema ile.
The hustlers have paid taxes and these taxes must come back to them. And they should not repay it back again.
Is what we've seen today is that this fund is biased. The beneficiaries are selected. One of the questions we can ask today, you saw there was a skit going on there. How did we identify those people as hustlers?
Na huku mrengo wa upinzani ukizidi kusuta serikali ya William Ruto kufuatia uzinduzi wa hazina ya mahasla, Rais William Ruto ametetea hazina hiyo akisema itasaidia pakubwa kufuta machozi ya maelfu ya mahasla waliokuwa wakililia suluhu ya changamoto wanazozidi kukumbana nazo kila siku. David Muthoka.
Aya, Duke. Endelea.
What do you want me to say about the video, all what I have?
Whatever you have. I think you were supposed to respond to a few questions, and then I don't know if you want to comment on the video. You have a chance to do that.
Yes, I want to respond. And Amatu Wangira is here and Dominic. They have been focusing on the historical struggles or historical successes which we have attained in the past years, which is a fact. But, for example, if you talk when Kenya and Kenyans was struggling to attain multipartyism, number one, those who were fighting for that, the objectives were defined. We are fighting so that we get multi-party democracy. They were focused and they were committed to the cause to the end. That's why we achieved that. What if it was a scenario whereby maybe some people came and maybe they were not fighting for that, but maybe they wanted to have, like, they appear that they are fighting that so that maybe Moi can access them and give them money, and then the struggle ends. Were we to achieve the multi-party democracy which we have today? So I did not say, and Wangira, you contradicted what I said. I did not say mass action is wrong. I actually even said that mass action is necessary. It's critical for transformation of any country. What I'm differing is, what are we fighting for? When maybe you are going for mass action, you must be addressing the critical needs of Kenyans. Right now, if you scrutinize what are the critical needs which Kenyans are yearning for, or which changes which we should implement right now as Kenyans, I don't think it's about supporting a given group of people not to be fired, whether rightfully or falsely. I think there are more needs which are of urgency and of significance to Kenyans than that. Maybe we are going maybe to ensure that we want all unemployed Kenyans to get employment opportunity. That's things which people will support across the divide. Maybe we want to end corruption. There's a lot of corruption across counties. And if you check the current county corruption index, you can see where counties are, like Mutembei. So there are critical issues which we should be fighting for Kenya to transform. And Dominic, you said that actually it has to be political. It has to have political gains. What I was trying to say, it's not have political gains to one individual. For example, somebody is trying to galvanize people, maybe to take power. And it's interest to have power, just that. That's very wrong. But if all Kenyans are going to benefit from that, then that's right. Talking about the petition to remove Chebukati, which was not admitted, I'm not sure about that. I've getting it from the social media and mainstream media, as most of you. I did not say that it should not be admitted. What I said is this, that, and I want you to be very clear so you don't take me out of context. We know that Chebukati is going out of office January. So that's like a few weeks remaining. And actually, if you are talking about the function of that petition, it's simply the removal. You are removing somebody from office. For example, if somebody is moving office in 2 weeks from now, why should you initiate a process of removing that person from office, which will take 3 months and which will use a lot of money? And the procedure is just removing them from office, nothing else. So I was saying, maybe due to that, somebody like me cannot encourage that. I'm not supporting that, because unless if maybe there is criminal investigation which will result to conviction and imprisonment, then that must proceed. But if just removing somebody from office who is going out in 2 weeks and you are starting a process which will take 2 or 3 months, then that's wasting time and money. That's what I said on that. But coming to these 4 commissioners, you know, we should debate about whether there was gross misconduct in executing their duties or not. So there are those who are saying there was gross misconduct and must be removed from office, and others are saying they were not having gross misconduct. For me, I'm saying they were having gross misconduct because, one, remember what did they say? They said that there was opaqueness towards the tail end. That's what they said. Those are their words. And they were not involved in the verification process. But if you understand what's the verification process, what does it entail? It entails original forms that 4As coming from polling stations, and then the security features are scanned, and then the figures checked, and then like that. But How was it being done at the Bomas of Kenya? It was done by a trained staff. There were specific people who were identified, went for a training for a period of 3 months, and they were stationed at the floor of the Bomas of Kenya. And that's where verification was being done by technical staff. So when you come and say I was not involved in the verification process and verification is being done by technical staff trained, then that means you are not, you have something which you are not, you are hiding. Number two, I said that because of that action of wanting to surrender and giving a contrary opinion or something of that, there was a civil war. And many Kenyans will die because of that. So they did not use the right procedure to solve the issues which they have. They were to confront Chebukati head on within the premises, their designated premises of work. You don't just go to a recreational facility somewhere and start giving a statement. For example, if there is a debate in parliament, would you go to Mombasa in an hotel and give a contrary opinion? But there are people within parliament who are engaged in doing that process. Then it means that's absconding your duty. So personally, I'm against that. I'm against them because they did not actually execute their duties as mandated. And most of you have been, if you, for example, you have the history of why we have been reforming the electoral process was that to ensure that the powers are not concentrated. So in 2007, for example, if you can read end results and they are final. Even the returning officer were not allowed to read results. It's what the chairman reads final. But then, because of the 207 chaos and opaqueness, that's why they say that now we have what we call reliable and verification mechanisms. So that means that the commissioners or the chairman, their powers are very limited. So I don't think it will help to a large extent if maybe you're talking about removing this chairman, removing these commissioners, removing this, about the infrastructure and the process which is in place. That's what I can say for now.
I know there are so many questions, but let me have a fast go at it before you go to Kenyan all the time. Duke, about the removal of the IEBC commissioners, who was cited by the Supreme Court for having broken the law in terms of announcing the result? Was it the 4 commissioners or was it the chairman? That's number one. Number two, why is it that the petition that was presented by the guy that I played the video in Kisumu, the person who was going to the court in Kisumu, why was his petition selectively rejected and the others forwarded, while it is open knowledge right now that all those petitions were presented almost at the same time? Why was his petition specifically rejected? Perhaps I can give Domi another, maybe Domi, you have another question for Duke.
Okay, I think this is not a question but a rebut. Duke, I think first of all, your statement, you are against them. It means you have just something personal. That's your own statement. Yes, sijaweka ingine. Okay, you are telling us that we should not push away Chebukati just because of the time that is remaining. You prefer these 4 be pushed out. First of all, time does not matter. That is selective. And I think I expect more more from you than what you are speaking. You are smarter than that. Another thing, you are telling us that there is gross misconduct. I think, first of all, I don't think you understand what gross misconduct means. Let me go back to what happened. If these people were going there because the inside mechanism has failed, yeah, you know that hata wafanyikazi, they go to the strike not because they want to, but because their issues have not been addressed. For your information, commissioners are very important. Underline this, they are very important in the process. Don't tell us that it's the executing people. The executing people, they will work, the professional will work, but their work must be approved, checked, and confirmed by commissioners. Yeah? Otherwise, why should commissioners be there? Then there's no need of commissioners. We should just have the secretariat. So, tafadhali, ebu fikiria tena kwanza kabla utuambie vitu zingine. Those guys were opposing because Chebukati is high-handed. Yeah. Let me show you how. If up to a point whereby he's pushing out one section of the political divide and accommodating some, Duke, you are on it was on public domain. There were papers that were being handed to the secretariat in that hall. Na sisi wote tuliona, hata wewe uliona. Things were changed, were being changed, ikionekana on camera. So stop trying to think that you are not, trying to feel, to show us that hauko unaona. Na wakati mambo inafanyika hivyo, and Chebukati insists on doing things his way, give me a break. If anything, I think to insist on what Nani Makiadi is saying. Chebukati is the one that was mentioned in court to be wrong, not the 4 commissioners. The person who was rightfully supposed to be questioned is Chebukati, not the 4 commissioners. That is, check the ruling of the court. It commended that Chebukati was wrong not to involve the commissioners. It is in court, brother. Sasa usituambie kuwa there was, and gross misconduct means ulienda ukaharibu. The person who was in gross misconduct was Chebukati. Ndiye aliharibu kazi. These guys were questioning. You cannot call somebody who is questioning the wrong thing to be in gross misconduct. By the way, that was, and in fact, that is a differing of opinion. It is not. It does not in any way amount to gross misconduct. And if at all you want things to be hidden just because of public, my friend, then you must be living on that. But I think the best place you should be talking about that is in pahali penye shetani yuko ndiye anataka kuficha maneno. What is wrong is wrong, Duke. What is wrong is very wrong. Na hatuwezi sema tufiche kwa sababu isiende kwa public. Wakati Chebukati is doing a wrong thing, it is supposed to be told. Let the public hear and know. Kama ulisikiza nini statement zenye nani yenye ziliandikwa na Martha Koome. Upande huu amesema goose chase whatever. na upande mwingine is blaming Chebukati wakati ametoa the written ruling. Really? So where it means even Martha Koome was contradicting her own statements. It means he was sasa alikuwa anasumbuliwa na conscience. Is when now he sees wakati anaandika ndio sasa anagundua kuwa that election ilikuwa na makosa. My friend, ebu saa zingine wakati unaongea check the facts right, please.
Okay, let me have Wangira. Unmute, Wangira, unmute.
I want just to do a rebuttal in just 1 minute because I want to allow my other colleague to come in. There's a gentleman called John Onyando. John Onyando has written a book called Kenya, The Failed Quest for Electoral Justice. This book was published in the year 2018, the first publication, and I pray that he can do a revision of this book and incorporate what actually happened in the 2022 election, so that it can become part and parcel of this book. It's an interesting book because what that happened in 2022 was what I'll call the failed quest for electoral justice in Kenya. That's our term, what actually happened in 2022. Now my area of rebuttal would be in what you are trying to defend in terms of what demonstrations are supposed to achieve or what demonstration should be. You have said that demonstrations should be about defined objectives. Then you have talked about being focused. Then you have used words like critical needs of Kenyans. Then you have brought in issues of Moi, that, you know, if those people who are fighting for second liberation were not focused or did not have defined objectives, that Moi could have bribed them. Let me tell you one thing, my brother Duke. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 that we fought for, that even Raila Odinga fought for so much, is very, very clear in Article 3, Sub-Article 1, that every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution. So the last part of it is to defend the Constitution. So we, as the people of Kenya, have an obligation to defend this Constitution. And one means through which we can defend this Constitution, my brother Duke, is through picketing, is through demonstration, is through presentation of petitions. That is one area of defending this Constitution. Then if you talk about defined objectives, in this country, which individual can you, if you talk about defined objectives, in this country, which individual has defined objectives than Raila Odinga? Raila Odinga always carries what are defined as defined objectives. We saw the way he has articulated issues for this country since 2002 up to 2005 up to 2007. The handshake, and when he articulated for the BBI, those were defined objectives. So what Raila Odinga is fighting for today, and the reason why Raila Odinga is summoning for a sitting at Kamukunji grounds is for expansion of democracy, is for defending this Constitution. And if that one is not defined objectives, then I don't understand what defined objectives are. Then you are talking about being focused. Show me a person who is more focused than Raila Odinga in this country. Raila Odinga is focused for the good of this country, and every person knows that. And he has discovered that the regime of William Ruto is trying to derail the democracy we have been enjoying. And today he was very, very clear that we know that the criminal justice system is no longer working the way it's supposed to be working. That cases have been in the last less than 100 days, we have seen cases being withdrawn. That is true. Criminal cases being withdrawn. We know that the fight against corruption has gone down. We know people with criminal records are being appointed to public offices. We know that. And you want Raila Odinga to keep quiet when all that is happening. He cannot keep quiet when he has an obligation of defending the Constitution, my brother. Then you talked of critical needs of Kenya. The greatest critical need for any Kenyan today is the defense of this Constitution. Because if we don't defend this Constitution, it does not matter what the rest that you enjoy. Because the best environment you can be in as a Kenyan is where this Constitution works. Immediately, we rep this particular Constitution, we defile it, and it ends up working. It ends up not working for the people of Kenya. Then we'll be in the wrong place. So, what is this critical need than the defense of this Constitution, my brother Duke? So, when you talk about defined objectives, if you talk about being focused, if you talk about critical needs, I think that those particular terms defines Raila Odinga best. That is all that perhaps I have to say, and perhaps you can allow our other colleague to come in. Thank you.
Commissioners Paul Kurgat and Margaret Mwachanya.
Let me try to play this video before I give Njiru an opportunity.
Have revived their attacks on Commission Chairperson Wafula Chebukati, blaming his alleged incompetence and dictatorship for their April resignation and the internal wrangles that also saw Commission CEO Ezra Chilobe sacked. The commissioners were appearing before the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee for an ongoing probe over a 9 billion shillings tender during last year's polls.
For close to a year now, the Wafula Chebukati-led electoral body IEBC has been on the spotlight over key procurements preceding the acrimonious 2017 polls. Among these, a procurement tender of up to 9 billion shillings, documented by the Auditor General in his 2016-2017 financial year report. And after the blame game between Chebukati and former CEO Ezra Chiloba,
Margaret Mwachanya.
Monday was the turn of former commissioners Margaret Mwachanya and Paul Kurgat. But first, queries on their controversial April resignations, alongside former Vice Chair Consolata Maina.
If procedures are not followed, and we are commissioners, we had been sworn in to follow procedure, then I thought we were making too much noise, and therefore the trust of the people of Kenya was slipping out of our hands.
The matter about resignation actually was not part of what I thought I'll come to discuss, and I would beg that this matter is in the court. And
which matter is in the court?
About my resignation.
We aren't aware about that.
It is in the court, and the judgment is 7th, this Friday.
This 7th.
Yeah. Among the queries facing the IEBC is the flawed procurement of KEBS kits for last year's polls through a direct contract to French firm Safran Identity and Security. Mwachanya, Kurgat, and Maina would subsequently blame an internal audit commissioned by Chebukati on procurements in ICT, among key reasons for their resignation.
Because you know the law on procurement.
Yes.
If it can be shown to you
yes.
that one particular person is the one who can produce that product,
yes.
then perhaps you would have agreed to have direct procurement. Is that what you are saying?
In my hand, I had Auditor General's report of the previous year. And he had questioned such a procurement. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, can we first of all see the process? We don't want to be questioned after this.
I want you to comment on this feeling, not really feeling, it's now like kind of reality, that the commission, as it were, or the commissioners, went beyond their boundaries when they engaged in matters procurement?
Personally, I don't think I was involved what we call individually when it came to procurement. I only gave my guidance or my contribution or my observation in a plenary.
We are going to buy equipment from one company called Safad Mofo. What do you describe that? How do you describe it? What do you say? What kind of procurement is that? It is not direct.
Procurement process had started earlier.
Yes.
And due to cases that were arising and the procurement kept on going forth and back, we actually ended up seeing that time was actually catching up with us and election had to go on.
The committee has also probed acting CEO Majan Hussein and is due to also summon companies cited in the audit report that did business with the commission during the polls. Murimi Mwangi.
I think Kenyan all the time is busy, but the reason why I wanted to play that video is because this is a parliamentary investigation with regards to how the proceedings at IEBC were skewed. And these three commissioners resigned and they blamed the chairman for all these high-handedness in the way he was handling things at the IEBC. With all due fairness and with expecting that we are a country that upholds the law and respects other institutions, I would have expected to see the same treatment that is happening right now to the four commissioners being applied to the same, because under these circumstances we have direct mentioning of names of people who actually broke the procurement law. They bought equipment directly without even regards to the procurement law, high-handedness, and all the other accusations that were brought before the parliamentary committee that was investigating the issues that surrounded the IEBC. I would have expected at that moment also for us to see another commission or maybe a tribunal being appointed to investigate what was happening at the IEBC, but that never happened. Now, the circumstances have changed. The same people that were being blamed in 2017 are the same people that are being blamed in 2022. But funny enough, they don't get investigated. They don't get investigated at all. The newcomers, those people that came in 2021 are the people now that are being crucified for being what we call putting the country in danger of a civil war, like Duke is trying to describe here. So Duke, I want you also to tell us what circumstances would have prevented the Chebukati, the same three guys, the Bola Muyu, I don't know, Bolu Muyu or Bola who, the Professor Sijui Rashid Gulei and Chebukati from being investigated in the way they carried issues at the IEBC in 2017. I would expect you also to tell us what has changed. Why are they now not being investigated, and why are they, being given a free pass? And then tell us when you talk about gross misconduct, like Wangira asked you here, and Domi, I think also Domi mentioned about that. What do you understand by the word gross? Two words, gross misconduct. What do you understand by that? Because
okay, let me give that, and then we welcome Kenyan all the time. I don't want to waste time. The individuals or the faction which was against the IPC in 2017 was the NASA side, and it was headed by Raila Odinga. And it happened that Raila Odinga happened to have many members of parliament. And I cannot comprehend, because they were having a lot of issues with the IPC, specifically with Chebukati not opening the server. Why did they not start a removal process of Chebukati? They were there, they were comfortable, they went to the street because of that. People died because of that. But they never, no member of parliament actually.
Let me ask you a question. In 2017, who had the majority in parliament?
It's not about who was majority or who was. It's about whether the process was initiated and maybe failed because they were not having the majority.
No, the question is, how do you initiate a process like this if you don't have control of the House, which is the parliament, and you don't have the majority leader, you don't have the executive? So how do you initiate such a process?
You initiate a process where if you know that you have facts and you have evidence which will convince even the people on the other side to buy what you are trying to say. So are you trying, if maybe there is somebody who has done something wrong, you say, because I don't have the majority, and these are the facts, I don't initiate that motion.
Yeah, let me ask
that's
you.
That's why some of you are trying to
Duke, Ngoja, 1 minute, 1 minute. Let's put the shoe on the other foot. Let's assume that the majority of, the National Assembly was held by Azimio. Do you want to tell me that this process would have gone on?
Yes. Say maybe it was to fail. But get my point, what I'm trying to say. If the NASA was extremely against the outcome of 2017, they called people to go to streets. Some people died, many, because of that. But 5 years later, they were very comfortable again with this very same person who they were fighting, and people died because of him. And they were now very comfortable that he can now also conduct another election. So that maybe that may indicate that maybe the previous allegations were not true. Because if maybe somebody has made a mistake, I cannot trust him in another time. So that's the question which I have. But let me proceed and respond to what I'm saying. You asked the question that is it Chebukati who was wrong or the 4 commissioners as per the court verdict? And if you read the case, the court ruling accurately, the court made a determination of whether the petition was having merit or not. And they say that the petition was not having merit, it was not having sufficient evidence, and the election was as per the provisions of the Constitution and the Election Act. However, what you are trying to hold on is the recommendations which they gave. They say, having found that the election was done as per the provisions of the Constitution and the Act, there are some concerns or some issues which need to be resolved. And actually in their recommendations, they even identified what should be done. So recommendation number 1 said that Parliament should come up with specific changes whereby there will be definite functions or roles of the commissioners, because there was a confusion of what's the function of commissioners. It was not properly illustrated. And they said that in terms also about I'm reading that petition. There's something I want to talk about, the recommendation which they gave. They said Parliament should consider enhancing regulatory frameworks so that they separate the policy and the administration of the IPC. So it's actually, they were talking about the reform so that to avoid for the future. So there is nowhere where they said that Chebukati did something criminal, and if they did, they indicated that you have to identify that. You are asking about gross misconduct. Actually, when you talk about gross misconduct, you are talking about somebody acting unethically or unprofessionally in executing his or her duties. So if I connect with the 4 commissioners, did they act unprofessionally? Yes, in many ways, and actually I've indicated those ways. For example, even if you identify what they were saying, consider the phone call of Tuju with Chengaya, the one who was resigned. Is that professionalism? Consider somebody trying to talk about 0.01% and which translates to something. Was that professionalism? So those are unethical and unprofessional proceedings, more especially that phone call. Actually, that commissioner has resigned because he knows that that audio will be displayed and he will have a difficult time to answer about that audio where he was communicating with Tuju, giving direction to go to Serena Hotel. So that's extremely unprofessional and unethical.
So, where are you getting all this information from?
Which information?
This information of Tuju calling the commissioner who has resigned and knowing that this phone conversation will be presented before the... Where are you getting all this information from?
That is across the public domain. Even Tuju responded to that.
No, I mean, you know, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble seeing the double standard. Like the case that we presented here of a person who petitioned the parliament to have his petition included, you said you had that from the media. So because you didn't have the facts. And then the same Duke comes here and tells us that he knows there's a phone conversation that went on between Raphael Tuju and a commissioner, telling the commissioner to go to where? I don't know where. Do you have the facts? Is it an allegation that you just heard from the media like the one we presented here before, or it's something that you're just pushing through?
It's not something I'm pushing through because we have like 4 affidavits on the same. Read the affidavits of the actually even of Chepkat. Actually, Tuju responded to that and did not actually deny those allegations.
These affidavits were they accepted in court? You know, you unaturudisha mahali ambapo sasa. From what I understand, if we looked at the same case going on in the Supreme Court, I know that hii story ya Chebukati na sijui mkubwa wa jeshi and all that shenanigans, the Supreme Court did not admit those affidavits for this particular case, unless we saw, you know, a different scenario. Perhaps we watched the, you know, a different case going on at the Supreme Court. Perhaps when the uliona yako tofauti na mimi.
No, for example, if you read, for example, the affidavit of Wafula Chebukati Ron, it was admitted. He even indicated that the 4 commissioners told him to force a runoff. It's an affidavit which was admitted by the Supreme Court. So how about that? Those are the issues I'm addressing, because these were commissioners who were comparing Chebukati, telling him, make sure, change and make sure there is a runoff. It's not that the results are indicating the runoff, but they are telling him, adjust to ensure that there is a runoff. That affidavit was admitted. So that's what I'm saying. Okay. Those are gross misconduct. And to finalize, what actually Wangira said, and he has moved out, he was trying to say that by saying that when you are actually having a mass action or you are fighting for something, such specific forms, if I say they should have specific objectives and actually you should fight to the end, then I'm trying to remit the provisions of the Constitution, of the free expression entailed in the Constitution. But I'm not, what I'm saying, I'm talking about individuals actually who are fighting the provisions of the Constitution. Because I am requesting anybody to indicate the procedure of removal of the four commissioners where the constitution has been disobeyed. Read all the provisions, and it's in Article 251, the procedure, how you start it, all those protocols, and indicates specifically that as per the constitution, this is illegal if you are trying to protect the constitution of the same. That's what I can say.
Okay, I'll want to go to Kenyan all the time. I think we've taken a long time discussing this issue about the IBC, but just to remind you, Duke, that you have selectively decided to omit the situation where what's his name, Raphael Tuju, was saying that the IBC chair and especially the two commissioners also went to his house. I think you've decided just to forget about that, but it's okay. Let's go to Kenyan all the time. Hiyo Duke hakusikia wakati Raphael Tuju alita press conference akasema these two other commissioners Gulie na Bol walienda kumtafuta kwa nyumba yake. That one Duke hakusikia. So wacha tuachane kwanza na hiyo. Kenyan all the time, karibu.
Yeah, thank you. Tunaendelea vizuri. Na wasalimia wote. Duke, I think this idea of relying with one side of the story is very wrong. I think you are giving the UDS side, which they used to validate the cheat. And I think as somebody who can be able to make his own judgment based on the things which are brought to me, I think the events of August 15, they were beyond what meets the eye. If the results were good and clean, I think Chebukati was supposed to come straight and read the results. We were not supposed to have that division of the commissioners. Whether you try to say that those commissioners were being used by Azimio or what, as long as the commission was unable to unify, it's wrong. So, and in any civilized country, I do not think that people should trust a divided commission. And it is so unfortunate that a divided commission gave Kenyans a president. It is unprecedented, and it is something which we should look for a way to amend it in our constitution. I think even this Cherera, they had audacity also to announce their president. But unfortunately, because there are some limitations, and that's why I still maintain that the Kenyan IBC chairperson, if he is not a person of character, with our constitution the way it is, you can buy him and you can buy presidency. It is that simple. The Kenyan election, as IBC stands now, you don't require Kenyans. You only require the IBC chairman and 2 or 3 billion. And you are less assured you are the winner of that election. We know August 15 was an auction of the highest bidder or a state capture. And this IBC was moving from one point to the other one, trying to auction the presidency. And those are things which have been said, and many people have repeatedly said. So at times I get perturbed when I hear people who seem to have a lot of information, people who can make a good judgment, that they still want to validate this win of the president. Let me tell you, Bwana Duke, it is only, let me tell you, we were not satisfied. It's only that us as Kenyans, we have matured politically. We do not want to lose our people. We do not want to lose our investments. We do not want to lose our properties because of the quarrels of an election. But it doesn't mean that we got satisfied. That is one thing which Kenya Kwanza people need to put in their heads. We never got satisfied. IEBC never gave us correctable election, and It is only that we love our country so much. And we said it comes a time when your country is bigger than an individual. And we decided to side with the results, which we were not satisfied with them, not because we liked or admired them, but because we wanted to protect our future. And you need to master that. It is not that we are cowards. We refused anarchy. We refused to do. There was options of doing everything, even fighting and killing one another. But we refused to do that, not because we were satisfied, but because of the country. And Mr. Ruto should not use that chest thumping, saying that hawa watu wa Azimio niliwanyamazisha. Hakuna kutunyamazisha, alitunyamazisha. We saw the big steal. We saw what happened. But because of the love we have for the country, tukasema mwanaume mmoja who is so egocentric na yeye ndiye anajitakia makuu peke yake, tukasema nchi yetu atuharibu sababu yake. Tukasema yes, we are bitter. How can we hold this thing? Tukasema it is painful. We have been in this thing again and again. And we decided to accept the shambolic verdict, not because we loved it, but because of our country. So this idea of UDA thinking that they bamboozled us, they were too strong, they could have put a lot of military people, it's bullshit. Let me tell you, we can reason, and we know what is true and what is right. And no matter how people in Kenya want to validate this win of Mr. Ruto did not win this election. I want it to be confirmed to me arithmetically, correcting all the data, and show me how this election was won or lost. Because up to now, I believe this election was not correctable, things did not end up, and from there were algorithms which, if we look closely into this data, but anyway, that one is past us. There is nothing we can do. The steal was done. We have to live on. But what is the future? The future is 2027, 2032. We do, progress is steps by steps. What we want is, we want a day when Kenyans will go to the booth and they get their right president to rule them. Let me tell you, you will never have a country if you are ruled by the wrong person. If people steal elections to become a president, that is the beginning of failure, because this guy knows he is not accountable to you. He used his own mechanisms to become a president. He never fought for it. He used the money or whatever he used. So the biggest corruption in any system starts with an election. And if as Kenyans, and let me tell you, I'm ready to stop everything. If we can be able to fix our electoral system, we will fix industrialization in Kenya. We will fix stealing in Kenya. Hakuna mtu atakuwa naiba kitu ya mtu. The reason why people in Kenya are so wrong, we have so many criminals in Kenya, it is because no one wants to be honest. Our politicians are so long, our politicians are so bad, they want to win elections in the long way. And that is the reason why, even as we try to do the best and revive our economy, we will not do anything because we are cheating everywhere. Mwalimu anadanganyana, daktari anadanganyana, polisi anadanganyana, sababu hata rais wao anadanganyana. That is how those things are connected. You cannot interconnect transparency and trust when people cannot be able to add 1 + 1 = 2 and 2 + 2 = like that. That is the problem which we have. So they were given the election. This election was not won. It was given. And it is also the same in many other countries where people just get the elections from under the rugs or maybe from even buying it. I don't want to discuss that too much. We are past that. But 2027, we have to be very cautious. We cannot have 5 election cycles where people are complaining because of transparency. We have to fix our elections and we see what is the best way possible. How can we do an election? How can we correct it within 1 day? This idea of delaying our election results 5 days, 6 days, that is where the hijacking takes place. If this election was finalized within a day, we could not be talking this thing. The idea of delaying the results was cooking. Now, how is Kenya performing? I can tell you, Hustler Fund, Hustler thing, you will try to show Kenyans how hard you're working. But I can tell you, Hustler government will be the government which will go into the history of Kenya as a government which will not do any development, starting from infrastructure. For your information, by 2027, you will not do any infrastructure. I'm not sure if you will be able to do the dual carriage ile ambayo mnasema mnataka kujenga. So we know this Hustler Fund, you wanted to roll it out so that you can use it as a Panadol in 2027. You are not, it's a box which you people you are ticking. We know that your government want to concentrate on the social aspect. We know your government will not do any infrastructure. We know that. So you want to concentrate with these small social issues, and you neglect our infrastructure. We know you people, you are not even doing maintenance of our infrastructure. Very soon, the Kenyan infrastructure is going to go back into the olden days. Our airport is going to be a bad one very soon because no good maintenance will be done. So what I'm trying to say is that this government is not going to do any infrastructure. Hata hizo madarasa munasema munaenda kujenga shule hizo za CBC, it is impractical. That commission was not honest. If you try to say that the amount of money which is needed to invest in this education, what we are doing is that we are watering down our education. And it is so unfortunate, people who have doctorates and a PhD, they cannot be able to reason with the slightest point of a knowledge that congestion of, primary schools have no resources. At least it is even better secondary schools have some resources. So when you say a primary school to also host a secondary school, and we know the status of our primary schools. Our primary schools have nothing. Go to the local schools. Forget about private. Go to the primary school. Enter to primary school. Tell me which primary school has capacity to host a secondary school within a span of 3 months. Unawaambia nyinyi mutachukua watoto wa secondary. Those people have no resources, so it is havoc. So what we are witnessing here is, even as Mr. Ruto is trying to say that you want to reduce the cost of education by wanting students to go into their immediate primary school. But there is something we call cost-benefit analysis. Have they done the cost-benefit analysis of that system, and they see what is the amount of impact on this? Because the idea is not for a student to be in school. The idea is a student to be in school and achieve academical excellence, which he can use it to advance his life. That is what education is. Education is not being in school. So, hustler narrative, what you are doing, you want people to be in school. You are not concentrating with quality. You are not concentrating with what the student will do in school. Hata kama kutakuwa na secondary in the primary school na mwalimu ni mmoja ama ni wawili, to you don't care. You are 30,000. During election, you are saying you will employ 116. After election, you are saying 30,000. Why are you reducing the number to 27% of your initial proposal? So what I'm trying to say is that we are dealing with a con government, a government which cannot be advised, a government which does not know how resources are allocated, a government which never allowed Kenyans to get their best. Because all this confusion you people you are bringing, Azimio and a good concept for it. And I can say Kenyans lost a chance to be served. Not because of their wish, because of somebody hijacking the Kenyan election. And it is a pity for Kenyans to suffer because of a steal. And I want to say, Chebukati, God will punish you. Let me tell you, hao watoto wote ambao wataumia sababu yako. You see the Kivuito Road. Hata wewe hiyo ndio ile barabara utapitia. Let me tell you, you will die like a dog because of the stupidity which you have introduced to Kenya. And we are going to curse you, idiot. Sababu hii mambo yote ndio ameletea Kenya. Chebukati is one guy who is the catastrophe of Kenyans 2 times now. That guy will die like a dog. It is unfair to make millions of Kenyans suffer because of only one guy with 2 testicles, and millions suffer. It is unfair. We need honesty. We need transparency. It's unfair for Kenyans to suffer because of one individual who cannot show us 1 + 1 = 1. I'm done.
Kenya na all the time, weekend mnakuaga mmekula nini bwana? Najua nimesikia unataja vitu zingine hapa na sitaki kuzitaja, nirudie hiyo jina. But I think next time you do your submission, that word can be camouflaged. Nilisikia kina Banadu wakiulizwa hapa wapi kengele. So I think that one sounds better. Si mbaya sana kama hiyo yenye umetumia. If you have to mention that, if you really have to mention that word.
Bro ni asira bwana. Unajua mtoto wa miaka 2 anaumia sababu ya one man who made a wrong decision for Kenyans. One man deciding for Kenyans. It's unfair. We are suffering millions because of one guy. Huyo jamaa, he should go Kivuito direction. Kivuito wako hapo.
Yeah, I understand there's a lot of pain, but let me just ngoja Duke, tuko na nafasi nitakuja kwako. Okay, let me give you 1 minute basi before niende kwa Julia.
I was asking a question because as per Kenyan all the time is that the person who failed is Chebukati. So I want to ask you, what will you do different? Because as per the provisions of the Constitution, receive all the forms from the polling stations and add. And if there is an issue, write it down and the court will decide on that. Those are the provisions. So having that in mind, and that from that 4 years have been submitted from various polling stations across Kenya, what will you do? Also, number 2, will you listen to other commissioners, or will you do what the Constitution is saying for you? So that's the question I want you to answer.
Duke, I don't think I want to debate much about this. It is very simple. If you have, even hata ile pali unafanya kazi, if you are a dishonest man, sijui kama umesikia yule jamaa wa yule MP wa Ghana, yule MP ambaye anasema they have a Maguire sijui MP amani. There's a very good story about the Maguire. Go and follow that story. So you can have a Maguire everywhere. That's what I want to say. Somebody who is not doing the right thing. That's what I'm saying. So ile kitu iko, a head teacher can be dishonest, a teacher can be dishonest. So, and if you have somebody who is dishonest in the area, in the high esteem offices, you end up in these directions where we are today. And that is why some offices zinafaa kupewa Wakenya of high integrity. Watu kama akina Chebukati, the least they should do in Kenya, hata chairman wa Munada asipewe kazi kama hiyo. We have to start vetting Kenyans from the time when they were in primary school. We have people of integrity, by the way. Pea mtu kama mimi hiyo kazi tuone kama nitawapea kazi kama hiyo Chebukati aliwapea hapo. We have dishonest people who cannot be trusted, and people who are ready for millions to suffer because of their corrupt agenda. People who I don't think, and some of them, they call themselves Christians. I doubt they are not. So, Duke, what I'm talking about here, I'm talking about character and honesty, which Chebukati, even a wink of it, he doesn't have.
So are you trying to say if you are of good character and you are in a position whereby we have an established infrastructure in the way things are done, and you are not omnipresent or omniscient because things are being done across Kenya, and you have 60,000 workers independent in a way, because you are not answering the question at all. I am saying specifically under the circumstances of 2020.
I cannot answer a character question. How do I answer a character question? Chebukati
It's not
is a
about
wrong
a
man.
character question.
That
It's
is
about
character.
what was done and what
Okay.
you will do.
Okay. We are going into the trenches now. Julia, ngoja dakika moja nikuchezee hii video alafu utupatie maoni yako. Naona Kenyan all the time na Duke hawatamalizana saa hii. So let me give them a minute before we come back to them. Let me play a video here. Yep.
This coalition decision that Azimio members in Cherera could not sit in the hearings, and how then does that serve the interests of the people you represent?
You see, Sam, I would say that is the decision of the members of the Cherera, right? And our members and members of parliament are informed by their own thinking on how or what they see. Let me tell you, Sam, let us not beat about the bush. It's already been decided by KK that these commissioners must go.
You mean Kenya Kwanza?
Yes.
That?
Done. Decided they must go. If you look at even the language outside parliament, rogue, all this, it's already a decision. It's already a decision that these are not good people. They must go. So the script has been done, properly prepared. Although John says that, you know, why are these people who are now Azimio in the committee, why are they colluding maybe with the legal team of the other side? But this petition must be interpreted as Kenya Kwanza petitions. It's true.
How so? They
have already
very individual names of.
If you just for purposes of people seeing that are individuals, but it's not. Look at the language. I wish you had then played even what other leaders are saying outside parliament. The decision has been made. There is no need then to take a cow from where I come from or a goat to a court where hyena is the presiding officer. That case is decided.
So let me ask you, Honorable Kosing, if some Kenyans have a problem with commissioners of whichever commission, what are they supposed to do?
I'm even told which matter we will interrogate tomorrow in Parliament. I'm even told that there's other petitions which were not presented to the House. They only ended up in the clerk's office. And that will really bring disrepute if it is true, those claims. And I'm told that those people who made the petitions have already presented their issues in court. I'm not sure, but I've read in dailies, right?
The petition against Hofla Chebukati.
Yes, yes. I read about that in the social media. And if it is true that it is in clerk's office, not transmitted to Parliament, then you don't need to talk next. So I think, Sam, we have a problem. And even by those members leaving the committee, it makes the committee lack legitimacy. They should have stopped. And we go back to say, then what happens? Because one side of the coalition cannot then proceed with the other side when the other side have left. And I will tell you this, the larger perspective is this. First, as I said, the decision has been made, this commissioner must go. So let us sanitize the process. Number two, the most unfortunate part, we have gone a wrong route, Sam. In fact, the Kenya Kwanza government was enjoying a lot of goodwill from the National Assembly, both sides of the House. They were enjoying a lot of goodwill, even from the public. There are so many problems that Kenya Kwanza needs to solve, not Cherera. There's no election tomorrow, Sam. You can agree with me, there's no election tomorrow. Election is 5 years.
But since, Honorable Kosing, since this is a decision that will be made by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, then the plenary of the House, why won't your members participate?
You see, let me tell you something, that's why we are human beings. You can see the process that is already been contaminated. It's true. You don't need to legitimize a process already been made a decision. But that's what I'm saying, Sam. That's why I'm here. The larger thinking which I want to bring to the attention of the nation, we have gone the wrong way. And Kenya Kwanza, in my view, we're enjoying a lot of goodwill in Parliament. I remember some when we were proceeding this issue of debate of, who is the leader of majority and minority. That was a very hot debate. We even came here. So when it was decided by the speaker like that, you know, the leadership of coalition said, you guys, please let us allow the country.
The committee, we did not agree on this timetable, but you used some words.
Sorry, Honorable Kosing, carry on.
So even that's what I'm saying, the goodwill, which now Kenya Kwanza is throwing out of the window. The leadership of Azimio told us, you guys, let us not even proceed to court to ask who is the leader of majority and minority. This is our country. Let you people take your positions as in the minority side. We are serving the same government. Let us proceed and give this government an opportunity to be able to help our country. There are many problems. Number one, they need to deal with us last fund.
Now, and Justice Nyang'aya has resigned as a commissioner of the electoral body IEBC. Nyang'aya threw in the towel hours after President William Ruto suspended him, alongside IEBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and Commissioners Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi, and established a tribunal to investigate them for gross violation of the Constitution. The 5-member tribunal, chaired by Court of Appeal Judge Aggrey Muchelule, was sworn in by Chief Justice Martha Koome, and its primary assignment is to determine the fate of Cherera, Masit, and Wanderi, with binding recommendations to the President. And as Francis Kashuri reports, Cherera and the 2 commissioners have the option of facing the tribunal to clear their names, challenge the process in court, or follow in Nyang'aya's footsteps.
Exactly 456 days from the date he assumed office as a member of the country's election management body IEBC, Justice Nyang'aya has bowed to pressure and resigned. Nyang'aya, who was sworn in on 2nd of September 2021, alongside Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi, tendered his resignation letter to President William Ruto through Head of Public Service Felix Kosgei, hours after the Head of State suspended the 4 embattled commissioners dubbed the Cherera 4. Nyang'aya in the letter said his decision came after weeks of soul-searching and prayers. While defending his short stint at Anniversary Towers, Nyang'aya said his actions, though taken in good faith, had been misconstrued.
I'm sorry,
this is an affront to the Constitution.
You can go and address the press out there.
Like Cherera, Masit and Wanderi, Nyang'aya did not appear before the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that was handling 4 petitions filed by the Republican Party, Dennis Ndumbi, Geoffrey Langat and Ward Steve Jerry, seeking the removal of the 4 commissioners. The National Assembly yesterday adopted the committee report and recommended the establishment of a tribunal to investigate the 4 commissioners.
For a moment before we conclude.
Hours later, the President constituted a 5-member tribunal chaired by Appellate Judge Aggrey Muchelule. Former Law Society of Kenya Vice President Caroline Kamende Daudi, Linda Gaki Kiome, Matthew Nyabena, and Said Hamid Said are also in the tribunal. Kibet Kirui and Irene Choe will be the tribunal's joint secretaries, with Peter Murage as the lead counsel, assisted by Zamzam Abdi.
I, Honorable Justice Aggrey Muchelule,
that I will faithfully and fully, impartially and to the best of my ability.
The tribunal was sworn in by Chief Justice Martha Koome hours after the President established it.
This is a heavy responsibility that is being bestowed upon us by this nation, and we have agreed that we are going to do our utmost best to keep to the oath that we've just taken.
The 4 commissioners' ouster journey began when they walked out of the Bomas of Kenya on 15th of August, just before IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati declared William Ruto president-elect. They claimed the process of verifying presidential election results was clouded with mystery and disowned the poll outcome. Their arguments were later dismissed by the Supreme Court and Ruto's election upheld. The President and the Kenya Kwanza team terming the 4 commissioners rogue.
The mandate of the tribunal, such as this one, that is constituted under Article 251 of the Constitution, demands that you conduct your proceedings in a very transparent and fair manner and without any bias, considering the people who are before you have human rights. Therefore, they must be treated with dignity and justice at the end of the day must be upheld.
With Nyangaya's exit, the tribunal's key assignment is to probe allegations of gross misconduct leveled against the three commissioners, prepare a report with recommendations on their fate, and hand it over to the president.
We will be as level-headed, as independent, and as fair as it can be.
In line with Article 251, Sub-Article 7 of the Constitution, Cherera, Masita and Wanderi will continue to receive half of their remuneration and benefits, awaiting the tribunal's verdict.
Julia, the president appointed that commission, I think sijui ni usiku jana ama ni saa ngapi. Leo Chief Justice jump into action. Ni kama majina ilikuwa inangojewa tu ichapishwe kwa gazette notice. Alafu Chief Justice akawatafuta wote akawakusanya na kuapisha waanze kazi. This is a state emergency.
Yeah.
But before you make your comments, I just want to inform you, I don't know kama unajua huyu mama. Kuna mama anaitwa Mary Wamboi.
Yes, and alikuwa, she was alleged to have been trying to steal somebody's husband.
No. Kuna mama alikuwa
Is it
anaitwa
the Mary Wamboi mwenye alikuwa na Kibaki something?
No. You don't know the Mary Wamboi. This Mary Wamboi that I'm talking about is a Mary Wamboi that was once being sought after by the DCI.
Yes, the one who also was
akajificha Weston Hotel.
Had a case of murder case or something?
No. Listen to the story. Puma Holdings director released on 50 million bond of a 2.2 billion tax evasion court case. So two directors of Puma Holdings wanted over 2.2 billion tax evasion court case have been released on 50 million bond with surety of 25 million Kenyan shillings each after they presented themselves before the anti-corruption court today morning. The two, Mrs. Mary Wamboi Mungai and Purity Njoki Mungai, presented themselves in court to take plea before Chief Magistrate Honorable Felix Mutinda Kombo, accompanied by their lawyer Nelson Harvey. So she's lucky enough, amegonga jackpot. Sahi ndiye atakuwa chairperson wa CCK, Communication Commission of Kenya. Endelea, Julia.
Yeah, I think that's not a surprise, Makiadi. We starting with the president himself. He's a suspect. The deputy president, another suspect. It's a government of suspects of thefts, corruption, murder, name them. So you expect the worst. So she's just one of the angels in that government because others have done worse things. Good to see everybody, Duke, Njiru, Frederick, Makiadi. And now Njiru doesn't want, he's tired. He's tired and fed up of being fed up with everything. He's done. Njiru is done. That's so Duke. If you see Njiru reacting like that, Njiru is one of the most patient people here, I think. Yeye na Makiadi, hiyo ninaweza wapatia kadi ya patience. Hiyo Mungu aliwasaidia. So if you see Njiru reacting like that, amefika mwisho wake. Sijui Makiadi anafika, sijui kama Makiadi wanafika mwisho wake. On a light note, so I want to comment on the things that I'm seeing there. Raila Odinga declares war on President Ruto, and I don't know whether he actually declared war. I don't know that it's Mutembei phrasing that. And UDA blunders Ruto Sio Huru narrative. I mean, there's somebody saying, I want to start with that. I don't know who is coming with that. Makede, I need you people to help me. Duke na Sunday na Kenyan kama, who said that statement? Ni Ruto alisema mimi sio Uhuru, man, who is saying that? Because I would like to know who is nani anasema your statement. Your statement inatoka wapi? Kuna mtu anajua where that is coming from? Is it Ruto saying?
I think ni supporters wa Ruto, the likes of Duke. Ama Duke imetoka wapi your statement?
Yes, imetoka wapi Duke? Because I have been hearing it.
You see, there was a time when Ruto was campaigning and they said he's not like Uhuru Kenyatta. He will not allow Raila to do APCD made to go Suffolk in the country, something of that kind.
Okay, so they actually quoting.
That's the origin of that statement. But essentially, what the statement means, I don't think two people can be the same. I can say the statement is also true because You cannot even be the same to your kid or to your parent. People are very different.
Okay, I get it. So I want to start from there. That's a symbol of arrogance and dictatorship. So he's trying to say that Uhuru ni softy, anaturarate Raila, na yeye si softy, yeye ni kichwa ngumu. He will not tolerate that. And now we can go and hear the story where Ruto said, publicly said, that hata karibu ni mchape coffee because alikuwa anataka kupeana hii kitu. And Uhuru said, yes, I wanted to give it away. So, actually, you are right, Mr. Duke. The two people are different. On one side, Uhuru is not hungry for power. That's the picture we see. And Uhuru was okay without power. Even in 2017, it seems Uhuru was okay with not becoming president. But Ruto on the other side has been so hungry for power that he was willing to do anything, even compromise the peace of the country. So for Ruto, it was do or die, become president, even 2017. But for Uhuru was like, no, I don't have to become president if this one takes away peace from this country. Now, that tells us where we are coming from. I think it is only since multipartyism, it is only 2002 where we've not had a contested election. Because 2007, we had a chaotic election where Kivoito declared a winner in the ninth. And then 2013, it was contested. And 2017, it was contested. Now, if you look at, I had an argument about members of parliament. If you want to know that an election has reasons to be contested, look at the numbers of members of parliament. I think Raila Odinga's side has equally been having a big number of members of parliament all through. Like 207, I think he had more, if I stand to be corrected. 2013, the numbers were close to the same. 2017, now 2022, Azimio had more members of parliament until they were bought by Ruto, until they crossed sides. So, Duke, what does that tell you? If a side has more members of parliament, it means they command a bigger support. They command a bigger support from the rest of the majority of Kenyans. So if the elections are contested, then there are questions and questions. Now, I look at the Cherera 4. Now, yesterday you tried, I think I left halfway in that argument between you and Deto. You are trying to perpetuate some argument that the Cherera 4 were on Ruto's side and all that, which I think you are not willing to perpetuate that today, that propaganda. But whichever side they were for, the fact that they decided to call a forum and publicly say they disagree with what is Chebukati announcing, it means something was very wrong with the whole electoral process. The fact that they had the audacity to do that, in fact, I congratulate them because they had the courage to do that, to call that press conference and say we disagree with what Chebukati is announcing. Now, according to KKA, what the Cherera 4 did is a recipe for chaos. So it means expressing your dissatisfaction with the process is a recipe for chaos, which means KKA is trying to take our independence and our freedom of expression. And he's trying to say that if we express ourselves, then we are causing chaos. Now, I want to say this, and because this must be taken, Duke, now I realize, I think you are very close to the KKA government, and you can take this message to them. I want you to take this. Now, I'm not in Kenya. I don't know what Kenyans are planning, and I have not control of what they are planning. But I want to say this, that sacking the Cherera 4, the behavior, first and foremost, the behavior of Chebukati, like Njiru said, the behavior of Mother Kome, and now sacking the Cherera 4, that is a recipe for chaos. In fact, Mr. William Samoei Ruto just nailed the head, the coffee. He just nailed the coffee. He has a few days and a few hours to correct that. He can instruct the so-called tribunal to withdraw all that nonsense. But Duke, like I said, I don't know what Kenyans are planning. and have no control of what they are planning. But I want to tell you today, this evening, American time is where I am, is 10:04 p.m. If that so-called tribunal goes ahead and does not reverse the decision of the Kangaroo Parliamentary Committee or Parliamentary Commission, does not reverse that, the Ruto just nailed the coffin for his chaos and chaotic reign, and he just asked for a country that may never be united for a long, long time. And the time we come back for unity, I don't think Ruto will be president. I want to tell you that because we have come a long way. We've been struggling with each other, and all of us can agree, which, irrespective of which side we have been. I think I supported Kibaki 2 times, and the second time in my heart, though I supported him, I knew something is wrong, and I did my common sense and my thinking. I did not need anyone to convince me that, Julia, this is wrong. This is wrong. You know, when you see somebody announcing results in the night, if you're mature enough, you say, this is wrong. This should not happen. And then the next thing, you see the Chief Justice swearing Kibaki at State House in the night. If you're reasoning, you say, in your heart, you say, this is wrong. 2013, I voted for Uhuru, but I knew in my heart, I cannot even argue like you, Duke. I could not even argue like you, Duke, if I had the forum to do so, because I knew this is wrong. 2017, the same. And that is why I think Uhuru, like many of us who supported him, knew this is wrong. I must do something about it. And Uhuru is in his normal senses. He could not go around eating ugali in State House, thinking that Kenyans are foolish and that he'll get away with it. He had to find a way, and that is why we had the handshake. Now, on the contrary, Ruto supporters are thumping their chests, saying that yes, Uhuru. Me, I'm asking myself, Duke, seriously, how many communities are behind Ruto? If any, there are only 2. And the Kikuus are not even all behind him. And I think I'm evidence towards that allegations. Now, people are here coming to this forum talking about secession. Why do you think they have the courage and the audacity to talk about secession? It's because they are bitter, and you won't blame them when they speak like that. Others have spoken in this forum and said other things that I would not like to say. Rest being accused of incitement. But I'm saying this, in Ruto's heart, he knows this is wrong. And that is lack of wisdom. Because you see, people are hurting from a contested election where about 40 communities, tribes feel that election has been stolen from them several times. We have to call a spade and accept this thing, Duke. Another thing that why they are hurting, seriously, common sense tells that we cannot sit and imagine that presidency will rotate between 2 communities. Even Uhuru said it, even Kikuyus know that. So people are hurting, they are coming from that hurt. And they don't even believe what Chebukati did was right and what Mother Kome did was right. And we can even see with the numbers in parliament. Surely if Azimio lost, they would not have been having those numbers in parliament. So it means they actually won. They had the majority of members of parliament. So then Ruto supporters have the audacity to say at Ruto si Uhuru. It is true, Ruto si Uhuru, because Uhuru is a wise man. In fact, Uhuru has emerged as a statesman. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that in him before. And now I feel he's a statesman. Because he was able to unite Kenya in a critical situation where we needed to be together. He helped us. He helped those who supported Raila. Heal. That is after 2017. And that is why, Duke, you are asking that how come these people sat and allowed Chebukati to conduct the election? It's because maybe they thought with Uhuru in power, Chebukati do the right thing. Maybe they thought so. It is called hope against hope. But unfortunately, they didn't know that Chebukati was the same Chebukati working for the same people who are stealing elections. They didn't know that. So they get this surprise, and they get another surprise of a compromised judiciary led by Mother Kome. Let me say this. Chebukati, Mother Kome, and William Samoei Ruto will go down in history for having led Kenya into chaos and for having destroyed the democracy that we have enjoyed since when we got multipartism. They'll go down in history for having destroyed the democracy that we have enjoyed. Because one thing I am sure, I don't know what Kenyans are thinking. I don't know what they are planning. Because I have no control of what they are planning. But I don't think they will sit down and allow Ruto to get away with this. I'm sure of that, Duke. I don't think so. I don't think that is why I appreciate, I am very happy the Cherera 4 did not appear in that commission. I am glad the Azimio MPs did not participate in that. So from now, you'll see such kind of things. You'll not see Azimio members going to agree with in parliament on anything. You'll not see them because they do not want to legitimize the actions of KKA. So you'll see on one side government doing things on their own and there's Azimio on the other side. What does that tell you? A divided country. So you can tell where we are going to. And we don't know where we are going to after next week, Duke. We don't know where we are. We've been here, Duke. We've been here when we fought. That is why I think Wangila reminded you when we fought for multipartism. And let me tell you, Duke, in 1988, I think I was a young kid. I can't remember it's 88 or around 1988. There were motions in parliament in Moi's presidency, and Kenyans were terrified and scared because in those days, I think Kenyans would not even mention the name of Moi. And then we had these contested elections. I don't know if it's 1998 where ilikuwa mlolongo. Ilikuwa mlolongo so that to discourage people from voting for the people Moi did not want. And one election I remember was in Kiharu constituency. It was between, I think, Kamodho or Kiano, somebody, Dr. Kiano and Matiba. And they were trying to rig out Kenneth Matiba, which they did not succeed. And then there were disagreements even in cabinet because of the way Moi was operating. But I can remember Kenneth Matiba resigning and said, he resigned from the government, and Rubia resigned. When he resigned, Moi could not take it. Kenyans were terrified because Kenyans were being arrested, taken to Nyayo House and all that. So people would not even speak the way we are speaking. But a few people rose up and decided they were done. And they said, do what you want to do to us. Do your worst. And Matiba said, if I'm chased from Kanu, where do I go? From today, this moment, Kenya is a multi-party state. He released a statement like the one Baba released today. Baba said that he's gonna do, and Azimio gonna do what they can do to stop these dictatorial tendencies from the Ruto's government. So it is no longer business as usual. So if you hear one man saying that, don't forget he has his followers. Do not forget he has even sympathizers on the other side. Do not forget that. So today, when Ruto decided to sack those Cherera 4, he just nailed the coffin because these same Kenyans, they are so aggravated. They are just waiting for a small thing. The Cherera 4 was just a small thing to push them to the wall. They had all other reasons to react. Njiru outlined it here. He said that when the results were announced, when the court said this, he said it. But then just that Cherera 4 was nailing the coffin. So I don't think, Duke, it will be business as usual. I can promise you that. And if you want to read history, read where we are coming from independence, multipartism. Soma penye tumetoka mpaka tufike hapa, because I think for you and other people who are not aware of what has happened to this country need to read the books of history and to search the archives of the newspapers and find out how we got here, so that now we understand you cannot push people to the wall and get away with it, whoever you are. Especially in Kenya, we know you overcame Moi. So and those people, when Moi was people overcame Moi, those people who were there are still alive, and they were sane, and they were mature enough, and they know what happened. So we have the record that it can happen again. We have that record, and we can give evidence to Kenya that it can happen. It is possible. So I think you go back, Duke, and tell your friends, your government, that guys, you're gonna reverse this, because if you don't do so, you just nail the coffin. And then I think I also want to talk about what Njiru said something about education. I mean, this government has all problems and many problems. Makeni, you are asking me earlier about the education sector and the government. I think this government has weird characters, and people